September 19, 1961, a car moves south on Route 3 through the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Inside are Betty and Barney Hill driving home to Portsmouth after a short vacation in Montreal. The road is dark. The mountains rise on either side. There is almost no other traffic. Betty notices a light in the sky. At first, she assumes it is a falling star, but the light does not fall. It moves. She points it out to Barney. He glances at it, then looks again. The light is not behaving like a plane, and it is not behaving like a star. They keep driving. So does the light. By the time they reach the area near Indian Head, the light has changed shape. It is no longer a point. It has an outline. Barney stops the car. He picks up a pair of binoculars, steps out onto the road, and looks up. What he sees in that moment would follow him and his wife for the rest of their lives, and it would become one of the most examined, unexplained encounters in American history. But to understand why this night became so significant, we have to go back before the road, before the light, to who Betty and Barney Hill actually were. Betty and Barney Hill were not looking for attention. They were not connected to any UFO organization. They were, by every account, an unremarkable couple living an unremarkable life in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Barney worked for the U.S. Postal Service. Betty worked in social services. They were active in their community and their church. Barney served on the local NAACP board and worked in civil rights advocacy. This was a couple used to being taken seriously and used to being careful about what they said in public. That detail matters. When their story eventually became national news, it did not come from people chasing fame. It came from two people who, according to the record, were reluctant to tell anyone what they believed had happened to them. Their trip to Montreal was meant to be a short, ordinary getaway. They planned to drive home the same night, arriving in Portsmouth at a reasonable hour. They did not. According to Barney's account, as he stood on the road with the binoculars, the object appeared to hover, then descend. He could make out a structure, not a shape he recognized as a conventional aircraft. Betty later recalled that the object seemed to change direction erratically, at one point appearing to pass in front of the moon. Barney, looking through the binoculars, described seeing what appeared to be figures through what looked like windows along the object. He would later say this moment frightened him so badly that he ran back to the car. The couple drove on. They reported hearing a strange beeping or buzzing sound and feeling a kind of tingling sensation before continuing down the road as if nothing unusual had happened. They arrived home. And that is where the second half of the mystery begins. When Betty and Barney sat down and reconstructed their trip, they realized something did not line up. Based on when they left Montreal and the distance they had to travel, they should have arrived home hours earlier than they did. Roughly 2 hours were unaccounted for. Neither of them could explain, in detail, what had happened during that stretch of the drive near Indian Head. They also noticed something physical. Strange, shiny circular blotches on the trunk of the car, which Barney would later say affected a compass when held near them, though this detail comes from later recollection, not from a contemporaneous scientific test. This is not being presented here as proof of anything. It is being presented the way the Hills themselves experienced it, a reported gap in memory, and a set of physical details they could not explain. What the Hills did next is what moved this from a personal experience into a documented case. 2 days after the sighting, at the urging of Betty's sister, the Hills contacted Pease Air Force Base to report what they had seen. This is where the documented record becomes especially interesting. Air Force files, later summarized in a 1974 Air University research study examining Project Blue Book, show that a radar operator at North Concord Air Force Station in Vermont had tracked an unidentified object roughly 7 hours before the Hills' sighting that same night. The report on that radar contact was not transmitted to Project Blue Book headquarters until nearly 3 days later. Separately, records show that at 2:14 a.m. on September 20th, about 2 hours after the Hills' encounter, an unidentified return appeared on the precision approach radar at Pease Air Force Base. Personnel there described an approach with no aircraft visible and a weak return on the downwind leg that the tower could not visually confirm. It is important to be precise about what this means. These are 2 separate radar events at 2 separate locations on either side of the Hills' reported sighting. The Air Force's own internal report later stated that it could not establish a confirmed link between the radar contacts and the Hills' visual sighting. The timing and rough geography suggested a possible connection, but the radar data alone provided no description of what was tracked. What we can document is this: military radar recorded unexplained returns near the time and place of the Hills' encounter. What remains disputed is whether those returns were connected to what Betty and Barney reported seeing. The Air Force's official explanation for the case would shift more than once over the following months, first attributing the sighting to a weather balloon, then to a temperature inversion, then to the planet Jupiter, and eventually settling on the label insufficient data. The 1974 Air University study that reviewed this history was notably critical of Project Blue Book's handling of the case, noting that investigators never re-interviewed the Hills in person, never visited the site of the sighting, and allowed contradictory explanations to stand without resolving them. That criticism came from within the military's own research and staff college, not from a UFO advocacy group. Betty began having recurring, disturbing dreams. In them, she and Barney were stopped on a lonely road by a group of figures and taken aboard a craft where they were examined. She recorded these dreams in detail. Barney, meanwhile, developed physical symptoms of stress, ulcers, high blood pressure, anxiety, which his doctor connected to the unresolved tension surrounding the sighting. By early 1964, both Hills agreed to undergo psychiatric treatment, which included hypnosis under Dr. Benjamin Simon, a respected Boston psychiatrist and neurologist. Barney was hypnotized first in February of 1964. Betty underwent her own sessions the following week, separately and, according to the record, without hearing what Barney had said in his own sessions. Under hypnosis, both Hills described strikingly similar events from that missing 2 hours: being stopped, being led onto a craft, being separated, and undergoing what they described as a physical examination. There were also differences between their 2 accounts. differences that Dr. Simon and later researchers noted carefully, because in genuine memory, some inconsistency between two separate people recalling the same event is expected. Dr. Simon's own clinical conclusion on record was cautious. He stated that nothing about the sessions proved the abduction had occurred as described, but he also found no evidence that either Betty or Barney was lying, or that either of them was psychologically unstable. What he said was that hypnosis reveals what a person believes to be true, not necessarily what is objectively true. That distinction is critical to everything that follows. It's only from this hypnosis material, not from Betty and Barney's original, conscious report to Pease Air Force Base, that the most famous elements of the story emerge. Under hypnosis, the Hills described being led aboard a craft by humanoid figures. They described being taken to separate rooms and given physical examinations. Betty described a needle being inserted near her navel, which she was told was a pregnancy test. Both said they were told they would not remember the encounter before being returned to their car. This is worth restating plainly. None of these details appeared in the Hills' initial report in September of 1961. They surfaced only after roughly 2.5 years through hypnotic recall. That does not automatically make them false. But it does mean they belong in a different evidentiary category than the sighting itself, the missing time, or the radar contacts, all of which were reported or documented far closer to the actual event. Of everything associated with the case, one detail has generated more analysis than almost any other: Betty's star map. Under hypnosis, Betty described being shown a map on the wall of the craft, which she was told represented trade or exploration routes. After her sessions, she drew what she remembered of it from memory. Years later, an amateur researcher named Marjorie Fish built three-dimensional models using nearby sun-like stars, attempting to find an arrangement that matched Betty's drawing. In 1974, she presented a version of the map that appeared to correspond, from a certain vantage point, to the positions of two stars in the Zeta Reticuli system. Supporters considered this a remarkable piece of supporting evidence, since accurate stellar distance data for many of those stars was not widely available to the public in 1961, when Betty's memory of the map would have originated. Critics have raised serious questions. They point out that stars were selected for the reconstruction using criteria decided after the fact, that many candidate stars were excluded from Fish's model, and that similar pattern matching exercises can be performed with almost any small set of points, and a large enough catalog of stars to choose from. We are not in a position to declare this resolved. What can be said is that the star map remains one of the most contested and most discussed elements of the entire case, a mystery inside the larger mystery. It is worth pausing here to organize what we actually have, because this case is often discussed as if every detail carries equal weight. It does not. The sighting of an unusual light and object, witnessed by both Betty and Barney, reported close to the time it occurred. The approximately 2 hours of unaccounted time, reported, based on the Hill's own reconstruction of their travel. The radar contacts at North Concord Air Force Station and Pease Air Force Base documented in official Air Force records, though their connection to the Hill's sighting is unresolved. The Air Force's shifting explanations documented in Project Blue Book's own files. The detailed abduction narrative, including the physical examination, later recollection, surfaced through hypnosis nearly 3 years after the event. The star map and its proposed match to Zeta Reticuli, disputed, contested by both supporters and critics using different methodologies. Laying it out this way does not diminish the case. It clarifies it. Some of what happened to the Hills is documented fact. Some of it is a claim made under hypnosis that cannot be independently verified. Both of those things can be true about the same story. Skeptical researchers have proposed several possible explanations over the decades. Some have suggested that the original light the Hills saw may have been the planet Jupiter, or a bright star, distorted by an atmospheric temperature inversion, a real phenomenon that can make light sources appear to move, change shape, and flicker unpredictably. The Air Force's own investigators leaned on this explanation, although critics point out it does not fully account for the couple's report of a structured object seen at close range. Some researchers point to the psychological effects of intense anxiety on a long, tense nighttime drive, arguing that grueling stress and confusion could have distorted the couple's perception of time, offering a natural explanation for the sense of missing time, without requiring anything to have physically happened during it. Others emphasize the well-documented risks of hypnosis as a memory recovery tool. Memory researchers have shown that hypnosis can increase a subject's confidence in a memory without increasing its accuracy, and that it can be influenced, even unintentionally, by a hypnotist's own questions and assumptions. Dr. Simon himself acknowledged this limitation. None of these explanations perfectly accounts for every detail the Hills reported, including the radar contacts recorded independently by military personnel. And none of the extraterrestrial interpretations can be proven either. What is fair to say is that serious, good-faith researchers have argued both sides of this case for over 60 years, and neither side has produced a piece of evidence that definitively settles it. Whatever actually happened on that road, the cultural impact of the Hill case is not in dispute. The story became public in October of 1965 through a multi-part series in a Boston newspaper. The following year, a national magazine ran a feature on the case, and in 1966, journalist John G. Fuller published a full account of the hypnosis sessions in a book titled The Interrupted Journey. The Hill case is widely regarded as the first alien abduction narrative to receive major national attention in the United States. Many of the now familiar elements of abduction stories, missing time, hypnotic recall, physical examinations aboard a craft, appear here first, in this case, before becoming recurring elements in later reported encounters around the world. Decades later, the physical objects connected to the case, Betty's dress from that night, her hand-drawn star map, a sculpted bust representing the beings the hills described, and Betty's personal papers were donated to the University of New Hampshire, where they remain part of an academic archive to this day, studied not only by UFO researchers, but by scholars of popular culture and folklore. The state of New Hampshire placed a historical marker near the site of 60 years later, people still travel there. That level of enduring interest in a case with no conclusive proof of alien contact tells you something on its own about the power of an unresolved question and about two people who never asked to become part of one of the most famous unexplained stories of the 20th century. We know that on the night of September 19th, 1961, Betty and Barney Hill reported seeing something in the sky they could not identify. We know that military radar independently recorded unidentified contacts near the same time and place. We know that roughly 2 hours went unaccounted for, and that the Hills' account of that time only emerged years later under hypnosis. We know their memories, examined separately, lined up in striking ways and diverged in others. We know the Air Force investigated the case with far less rigor than the sighting seemed to warrant, and that its explanations changed more. We know that a star map Betty drew from memory has never been fully explained in either direction. What we do not have is conclusive proof that Betty and Barney Hill were taken aboard a craft by beings not of this world. What we also do not have is a single, complete, natural explanation that accounts for every detail they and the U.S. Air Force put on the record. Somewhere on a quiet stretch of New Hampshire road, in the space of about 2 hours, something happened to two ordinary people that neither they nor the researchers who spent the rest of their lives studying the case were ever able to fully explain. The road is still there. The marker is still there. And more than 60 years later, so is the question.